We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Alright, cool.
Believe in yourself.
Marissa?
Spider-Man Far From Home is once again directed by John Watts and stars Tom Holland, Jon Favreau, Zendaya, and Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. So what's the story? After all the craziness that happened in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, Peter Parker is taking a well-deserved vacation with his classmates to Europe. However, his vacation plans are quickly put on the sideline when Nick Fury recruits Peter and Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, to put a stop to a menace known as the Elementals. These creatures from another world that can cause mass destruction through various forces of nature, but not everything is as it seems. The thing that I enjoy most about this movie is it takes everything that I liked about Homecoming and dialed it up, while also pulling back on some of the things I didn't exactly care about Homecoming. Take, for instance, the humor. Homecoming is one of the most lighthearted, funny movies in the MCU by far, with the exception of maybe Thor Ragnarok. This movie had joke after joke, and yet I never felt tired of the jokes in this movie. And also, whenever there is a more serious, dramatic moment, it knows just when to pull it back, and there feels like there's more action versus consequence in this movie than in the last movie, where it seemed as though in a lot of ways Peter seemed to get off a little too easily sometimes. This movie is confident enough not to use the humor as a crutch and promote a sense of gravitas that I just didn't expect. And when I say gravitas, this movie is significantly darker than the previous one, and I'm not meaning that in a crappy way like in a Zack Snyder, oh, so dark and grim. No, it's just, it knows how to be serious. There are actual stakes in this movie. If you're one of the people who held back Endgame from exceeding Avatar at the box office, you might want to leave this video because I am going to spoil Endgame for you.
Stop watching because there's some serious spoilers about to come up.
At the end of that movie, Tony Stark dies. And much of this movie is just Peter Parker having to cope with the fact that, oh man, not only did he lose Uncle Ben, but now he's also lost Tony Stark. That's two father figures that he's lost, and he's coping with the fact that one, he's gone, and two, he has no idea if he's worthy to fill in the shoes that Stark left behind. And something that I like is how this movie uses Tony's death as sort of the MCU's version of Uncle Ben. Something that I didn't care for about Homecoming is that it kind of glosses over the Uncle Ben death, which is very much a part of the Spider-Man mythos. But it's a sacrifice that I understand was necessary because we've already seen Uncle Ben die twice. It just feels repetitive at this point. So, to me, Tony Stark, who is in a way the godfather of the MCU, I feel like has every right to be this version of Uncle Ben. He's been with him since the beginning. He saved him from a drone in Iron Man 2. He recruited him to fight Captain America back in Civil War. He's the one who made him an Avenger in Infinity War. And some people might find offense to the fact that there isn't an Uncle Ben and that Tony is just kind of replacing him. But in the context of everything that we've gone through in this huge MCU story, I think it makes the most sense. Another thing that I think they perfect in this movie is the AI. I don't think I heard Spider-Man once talking to his suit. Now, there is another AI that he does talk to, but it's so woven into how he interacts with Mysterio and S.H.I.E.L.D. and coping with the death of Tony, that it kind of rings true to the fact that no matter where Peter goes, he is haunted by the past of Tony. You know, he sees him on a billboard, he sees him on a little list of movies where he's on the airplane, that it's like a little Tony Stark documentary. Now we gotta talk about Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal can do no wrong in my eyes. His performance in this movie feels very reminiscent of another movie that he starred in called Nightcrawler, and you can tell that Jake Gyllenhaal is having the time of his life playing this character. What gives Mysterio his main competitive edge is the fact that he is the master of illusion. It felt like a Doctor Strange sequence got put in my Spider-Man, and in the best way possible. I also love the dynamic between Peter and MJ. In the last movie, it was hard for me to see MJ beyond just a quirky, weird girl that happens to be a part of Peter's class. But in this, she feels like an actual Spider-Man love interest and is the perfect blend for Peter, who is also a kind of quirky and awkward kid. It feels so much like a teen romance movie, and while some people might groan at that fact, if you can play with genre in the right way, you can do it very well. The MCU has shown that they can do space operas, they can do spy thrillers, they can do heist movies. So if you can do those things, why not do Pretty in Pink with Spider-Man? One final praise that I have with this movie is that this, more so than Homecoming, feels like a real full-on Spider-Man movie. One of the biggest criticisms of Tom Holland's performance as Spider-Man is that he's just a glorified sidekick for Iron Man. And now that Iron Man is gone, it's up to Peter to step up to the plate and say, hey, I am Spider-Man, and I'm not going to be the next Iron Man. I'm just going to be who I am right now. My only criticism with this movie is that, much like Homecoming, it does suffer by being a bit slow at times. However, even the slow moments were actually pretty fun. Plus, this movie is also juggling a lot more balls than Homecoming, and so I can't really think of anything that I would cut out. This movie was such a fun time. It's got a decent balance of humor and drama. The way it dealt with the events of Endgame felt reverent while also ushering a new era for Marvel. They handled the Stark Tech a lot better in this movie than in Homecoming. Mysterio is such a threatening presence and steals the show whenever he's in frame. The Peter and MJ dynamic is cute and feels true to the high school experience. And more than anything else, the thing that encapsulates every praise that I have with this movie, it feels like a Spider-Man story and hits all the classic Spider-Man beats, while also retaining that fresh MCU spin on it. With its only fault maybe being too long and not living up to the gold standard of Spider-Man 2 or Into the Spider-Verse, this was ultimately a spectacular time, and I'm gonna give Spider-Man Far From Home a 9.5 out of 10. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm Higgs, this has been my flick, and I'll see you next time.